For Marie, a senior civil servant from the French Urban Policy Department, the Philippines was a place already defined before she ever saw it. Western news reports painted a consistent, grim picture, a nation buried under a mountain of debt, a struggling, perpetually poor economy, and a populace forced into extreme frugality and long hours for minimal pay. She boarded the plane to Manila with a deep-seated, condescending skepticism, convinced she was traveling to a third-world setting where chaos and underdevelopment were the norm. Her initial mission was simply to study a country struggling with its heavy fiscal burden. But the moment she stepped out of the aircraft and into the Ninoy Aquino International Airport Naya, that entire framework began to violently shatter. The airport, a space she had imagined would be littered with chaos and grime, was instead immaculate. The floors were polished to a mirror sheen, utterly devoid of the clutter and trash common in other international terminals. Marie was stunned by the sense of order and cleanliness that seemed impossible to maintain in such a high-traffic environment. This was not the broken, indebted nation she had read about. The surprises continued at the baggage claim. As the suitcases rolled onto the conveyor belt, every single handler had meticulously ensured that the bag handles were facing outward. This small, seemingly insignificant detail was a monumental revelation. In her previous travels, luggage was often haphazardly tossed and even damaged. Here, every piece of baggage was treated with a gentle, systematic respect that spoke volumes about the service culture. It was an efficiency born, not of forced protocol, but of genuine Malasakit, the Filipino culture of service and compassionate care. This meticulous attention to detail extended to her ride. The point-to-point P2P bus that took them from the airport to their hotel was pristine, more akin to a luxury coach than public transport. The driver was a model of precision and courtesy, greeting every passenger with a warm welcome that felt like a concierge service. On the Skyway, the driving was smooth, professional, and entirely devoid of the aggressive maneuvering that characterized highways in her own country. Her initial vision of the Philippines as poor and chaotic was replaced by the immediate, overwhelming reality of a country that operated with a quiet, efficient, and deeply caring order. The next layer of revelations came as Marie and her colleagues began their urban survey in Makati and Bonifacio Global City BGC. She was prepared for a bustling capital, but not for the pervasive sense of social discipline and integrity. Walking the streets, she noticed pedestrians silently obeying traffic signals, even when no vehicles were approaching, a sight unheard of in the liberal, boundary-pushing Parisian culture she knew. This wasn't merely compliance, it was a deeply ingrained social etiquette rooted in respecting shared space and minimizing inconvenience to others. The city's public infrastructure also showcased a hidden wealth: the public restrooms. Marie, who dreaded using public facilities even in France, found the mall toilets to be world-class. They were spotless, fully equipped, and, to her utter bewilderment, included a bidet with a warm water function, a luxury feature even in mid-range French hotels. This obsession with cleanliness and comfort, even in the most communal spaces, was a powerful statement about the country's self-respect. Her expectations were further shattered when her group was stopped dead in their tracks in BGC, staring up at a skyscraper. On a massive LED screen, a stunning, hyper-realistic 3D advertisement was playing a technological marvel so advanced, so vivid, that it dwarfed anything they had seen back home. The sophisticated, high-tech display was impossible to reconcile with the image of an impoverished nation. The greatest shock, however, was a display of Filipino integrity. Her colleague, Sophie, realized her wallet, containing €500, credit cards, and her license, was missing. Panic engulfed the French team. They immediately assumed theft. But after frantic calls, the wallet was located, retrieved by the police, and handed back to Sophie. Every euro, every card, was accounted for. Nothing had been touched. The profound honesty and efficiency of the system, the upright Filipino who found it, and the quick response of the authorities spoke to a level of social trust worthiness Marie had never believed possible. If you are a true, full-blooded Filipino who carries the spirit of Puso in your chest and recognize the truth of this integrity, show your support right now. Please subscribe to this channel to help us celebrate the immense emotional richness and global influence of this vital heritage. Despite the overwhelming evidence of order, sophistication, and integrity, Marie still wrestled with the central paradox. How could a nation universally labelled as heavily indebted appear so rich and stable on the ground? Her initial training had taught her to trust the figures of the national balance sheet, not the gleaming streets of its cities. The mystery was finally solved by her boss, Monsieur Morio, who had a deeper understanding of macroeconomics and the Filipino system. He explained the crucial distinction that Western media consistently failed to grasp. The Philippines' debt is overwhelmingly domestic debt, not foreign debt. This single point was the economic key. Morio elaborated that the debt is held by the country's own local banks and the Central Bank of the Philippines, meaning it is owed in their own currency, the Philippine peso. This structure dramatically minimizes the risk of default, unlike countries that borrow heavily in volatile foreign currencies like the US dollar, which can trigger a crisis. They owe themselves, Morio summarized, explaining that the risk of a market-crippling debt crisis is virtually zero when the debt is denominated in your own currency. Marie was stunned by the fiscal ingenuity of this approach, a structural wisdom that provided an invisible layer of economic security. This revelation forced her to confront her own media-driven biases. She realized she had been judging the Philippines with a fragile Western metric that measured risk by sheer debt magnitude, failing to account for the superior risk management of the domestic structure. But the economic shocks didn't stop there. Morio added that the Philippines is simultaneously one of the world's leaders in foreign exchange reserves, massive stockpiles of foreign currency that provide unparalleled stability and a safety buffer against global shocks. The country was, in reality, cash-rich and highly stable, defying every surface-level judgment. The conclusion was undeniable. To judge the true value of the Philippines by looking only at a debt figure was a profound and arrogant mistake. The country's wealth was not just a matter of appearance. It was secured by shrewd, resilient economic fundamentals. Marie's journey was now complete. She had moved from cynical skepticism to profound admiration, not just for the economic structure, but for the soul of the Filipino society. The ultimate lesson was that the nation's true, unquantifiable wealth was not found in GDP statistics, but in the pervasive cultural values that she had witnessed firsthand. The cleanliness of the public spaces, the professionalism of the P2P drivers, the honesty of the citizen who returned the wallet, and the safety of the streets were all interconnected. They were not enforced by harsh laws or an overwhelming police presence. They were generated naturally by the Filipino ethos of pakikipot without the concept of shared humanity and a deep-seated respect for the well-being of others. This concept, underpinned by Malasakit, creates a stable, self-regulating society. The extraordinary order in the crowded metro, where passengers patiently queued and felt safe enough to sleep, was a direct manifestation of this shared concern. Marie realized that the lack of aggression, the attention to detail, and the commitment to service she had experienced were not anomalies. They were the daily, routine outcomes of a culture prioritizing kindness and collective harmony. The Filipino human touch that had initially shocked her, the warm hotel greetings, the gentle handling of luggage, was the nation's invisible social infrastructure. This pervasive goodness, this high social capital, was the most valuable asset the country possessed. In their final conversation, Marie looked at the glittering Manila skyline, no longer seeing a developing country, but a world leader in human wealth. The 3D digital billboard had represented technological advancement, but the returned wall had represented a moral advancement far more crucial. Her takeaway was the single, most important truth: you cannot judge a country by the figures on a balance sheet. You must see it with your own eyes and feel the Malasakit with your own heart. The Philippines, she concluded, was a nation whose warmth and human wealth far exceeded any economic metric, making its people its ultimate, beautiful, and enduring form of richness.